15th, 2019. 29th match day played of the German Bundesliga, and we're ready for the review of the games. In the common way you got used to with a comparison, I go through the games, I compared what market said, what my figures said. We look at the games and look in the end what happened to our season's record, which has been miserable so far. But also, I would like to discuss a bit about the rules, or the video assistant referee, they call it, which is everyone notices now that it didn't bring any kind of improvement. Even worse, it could be even more. Could it be worse than it had been before? And they may be right and discovered this problem and said, okay, it looks like arbitrary decisions and so on, but they do not spot the problem that really is responsible for that. And there I'm pretty sure of, and they should at some point maybe listen to me, what other people would do and understand, and maybe agree to it, and maybe we can distribute this knowledge and understanding, and maybe one day get it right and get football more exciting, more interesting, and better, and more just than it is now, because it's pretty unjust. Okay, I mean, we did have this Nürnberg-Schalke. I was arguing pro Nürnberg very much, and although the computer had a pretty even evaluation of this game, which is still it would say, well, Schalke are the favorites, but market was a lot more supporting Schalke. The much higher probability for Schalke to win, much higher. For Schalke to win, this is 5% difference here, 37, I had 42, they got. So 5%, but 5% is already, you can call it a difference. And, significant, let's call it. And Nürnberg improved even on that, although the match report sounded a bit different still to that, because it said as if Nürnberg were very unlucky and Schalke didn't perform at all, which is in that sense true, that Nürnberg were the better side, and even Nürnberg were 0.31 goals better than I expected. And also they took the lead. They could have taken the lead earlier. After they did it, Schalke still had a comeback, and it was a very late goal, but the other goal came 2 minutes after Nürnberg scored. So, and very late on, Nürnberg may still have snatched the winner, which would have been deserved in the sense that they were the better team and they were better than expected. Still, this is within range where you can say, okay, draw is fine. And so Schalke was still a bit downgraded, so to say, by commentary, because people were expecting them to be the better side and they were the worse side, which sometimes makes the commentary also a bit unfair against them. I mean, they even produced a bit more than I expected, so in this sense, I'm not showing this once again how many, but I did enter this here, so I mean, we could have a look here. Shots 17-15, so they did have their attempts. And still a bit unlucky, you would say, for Nürnberg, also in the sense, I mean, somehow they would argue a bit more in favor of the underdog, also because, I mean, I believe very much in psychology, and that I can understand why people have this tendency, and maybe people agree or have that same understanding also, but sometimes they may not care for that. But I'm pretty sure that people would have felt for Nürnberg a bit more, because Schalke have a bad season anyway, but they are still clearly ahead of Stuttgart, and so they can care for their own luck, but also in the sense, I mean, care for themselves, because 6 points, I mean, so you shouldn't be too worried, although we call it a snail race or elephant race because no one is making any points, right, down there. So, I mean, snails, they are not making any progress, or elephants because they are so slow. But I mean, it's not like lions or what is it, gazelle? I don't know what that is in English. Very speedy animals. No one is winning any games as Stuttgart did here, and so Schalke are not even in such serious trouble, although they have a terrible season. Also compared to where they wanted to be, but also in the sense of how many points they won, because 27 is less than the games played, which for me is an indication for being in serious trouble. But if the others don't win their games, then you are beyond this mark of 1 point per game, which you need at least to be in trouble or to be in danger, but not when 34 games, 34 points, they all would say that's serious danger. And they even say 40 points and we are safe. But 34 should do at least to be in good contention. Anyway, why they would support Nuremberg a bit more is because by intuition somehow the psychology that I'm saying, people would like to have some, if they are, as long as they are neutral, they would like to have some tension and excitement down there, right? So you would say, well, if Nuremberg win, oh no, let's see what happens next week because it's so close. Now you'd say, well, they had been down, they are still down. So I mean, I'm not that excited about the next match day. So in the sense of you would like to have some more excitement in the whole competition, you also think, man, I would have wished that Nuremberg won the game. Also because they deserved it, but also because you would I mean, also in some sense you would say, well, they lost so many games and sometimes they were the better side and they still lost, although commentary may sound different, but still you feel it somehow that they were unlucky. So you wish them a bit more of that luck they didn't have. In Stuttgart-Leverkusen, I mean, here you can see already that the draw did not hurt this time, although it's the only one. Of course, the Nuremberg one would have given me a major boost. The draw was okay, it was neutral more or less. Stuttgart-Leverkusen, they played pretty close to what I expected, and even here, Stuttgart were the better side. I mean, we got a difference of 0.7 goals. So this is enough to justify a win for them. And 2.28 goals is close enough, and this is close, and so on. But anyway, there had been plenty of chances and not taken. And so a 0-1 is not fairly reflecting what happened. It could have been 2-2 if you took the closest two rounded off or up. Then you would have 2-2, right? That could have been a result. But 0-1 is not quite reflecting what happened. Still, as Stuttgart were a bit better than expected, they somehow approached a bit more to get something from this game, which is also what the voices told me. Or, I mean, they do not. No one ever dares to say, well, we had been unlucky. What they would say is, well, luck wasn't on our side at best, or they would say, well, things are somehow going against us, and we can't do much about it. And this was the same thing here. In Hannover, Gladbach also not quite reflected the ongoings on the pitch in the scoreline, in the final scoreline. Here I may have argued that I think that it feels like Hannover have given up, and this was, I mean, they didn't give up. They played football. They do what they do. They try their best and so on. But as Doll put it after the game, Coach Doll, he said, well, we can't expect any better than that. And we reached our limits. And in some sense, as I said, that it felt a bit like resignation, which is shown in the fact that maybe in the tackles also, they do not, why would you do that? You're going down no matter what you do, and then you pick up some yellow or red cards even or so, and then you say, well, we're really going to fight for it. And okay, we wasn't good enough. If you're not good enough, you somehow put up with that, with your fate. And this is more or less what happened here. And it was also about what I predicted. Although, I mean, here I wouldn't argue about this difference here. at all because market more or less agrees. But still, I may have said that I would lean even a bit more towards Gladbach, which would have been the right thing. Here you see that they were even 0.92 goals better than expected. And this expectancies, they are not, I don't take any influence on that. That's the new system that's working all by itself. So this is pretending Hanover were playing a regular game of football, which they still do. But as I said, sometimes if you do not tackle in that, the way you should have, or others do, and so on, then you still go down because this is professional football. They are all very tight. But if you skip one of the requirements, then you're just losing the games. And it was still very close, and Over still had some chances, and it was a deflected shot that went in. But on the other hand, you could have said, well, there were enough chances on another occasion to score for Gladbach. In Werder, Freiburg was close to what I expected, but Werder were even a bit better. And I may have said that pre-game that I like them. I can't argue a lot against Freiburg also, or against my prediction. I'm losing here 2-1. It's nothing. This is like being even. Freiburg would have helped me. I mean, 2-1, you can still say it's close enough. Here it would not be justified, my figures, but I support Werder. I like them. I also like Freiburg. So I was neutral. That one, and this is what happened more or less. The right side won, the better side won. Here I may have argued a bit, although I said I would like to support them a bit more, but actually market adjusted quite well to that. The early market, which is a new term maybe to you now. But the price went down on Leipzig because they have spotted they are pretty competitive. They are pretty good. And they were a lot better than expected. They well deserved this win. It was a professional display, you could say. They scored the 2 goals, and there was not a lot to happen, and not a lot that went going for Wolfsburg also. It was just a comfortable win, and they well deserved it, merited it. And in Dortmund, this is a very different story here. And somehow, I mean, I do not agree at all to what people say about it. Those stats do very much justify that. But when they talk about crisis now and after, and Dortmund couldn't handle the 0-5 in Munich also, this is just pure rubbish because it went the way that I said it. I was looking, and I was saying that for a comfortable and good win. And this is how they started like and how they performed in the first half. And it was 2-0, and you would say, well, this should have been 3-0 and game over, and maybe 4-0 even. You wouldn't say much against it because they just played well. What happened after the break? I mean, I've seen many such games already, and what I know is if this lower part, the trailing side, they are let off the hook, you could say, right? You let them off the hook. It's still 2-0 only. You say, well, if we score 1 goal, and maybe we get things going, right? And the other side, they say, well, we're so close more or less to winning the game and more or less to the final whistle. And so this halftime break sometimes changes the game. They didn't have quite as much as they may even have deserved. I mean, 2.1, they didn't create anything in the second half. So it was just 12-3 shots for Mainz also in the second half. But take the first half, then it should have been already 2 goals, which were fully justified. But if you see sometimes size of chances, you could say, well, that was possible. They scored another one. So the game went completely differently after the break. I agree on that, to that. But as I say here, the one side that is just 2 goals down, that could have been down more, they say, well, it's not over yet. We could just start playing. The others, well, we're so close to, more or less. And then maybe they say, well, we don't need to attack, so let's just, as Leipzig did, or who did it successfully, right? It was similar there. But they kept Wolfsburg at bay. But also Mainz, I mean, they showed that they are good. They are Bundesliga side, so they can play well. And no one is arguing about that. Because sometimes it happens that a team all of a sudden I mean, they show all their skills. They simply say, well, it's not over yet. Let's just go out and play football. And that's what they did. And you shouldn't be surprised that they all of a sudden play at a very good Bundesliga level, because this is Bundesliga level. And Dortmund stepped back this one gear, or took back this one gear maybe, or they were. And all of a sudden they were surprised. And you can't turn that back, right? You can't simply say, well, no, it's us. You know, what do you say? Chin up, chest out. I don't know. All of a sudden, you lost control over the game, and this is what happened here. And Mainz would have deserved a draw, but here, as I pointed out here, this is 0.7. This is still 0.6 more or less. So you can say as well here, well, it was still a deserved win, although Mainz were 1.32 goals better than expected. Of course, I would say, well, this was very shaky, and especially, I mean, when you just see that the very last action, that very last attack by Mainz in this game, then you would understand what I say about the rules and what I say about not allowing goals and why they wouldn't do so, right? The ball, there's a long ball coming into the area, but they are all inside the area, all players. So Mainz and Dortmund players. And the ball is coming close to the keeper. The keeper is trying to catch it. It's outside his 6-yard box. And there is a Mainz player. What else would you expect, right? And he's just standing there. And maybe he tries also, he sees this ball coming and he tries to. And then the goalkeeper can go just, well, he what do you say? He dives over this player or whatever this is called. But he somehow catches the ball, but he still, or he drops it, or I don't know, he touches it, but he goes to the ground because he was overexcited somehow to catch this ball or to get a touch to this ball, and like that, more or less, he would bring down this Mainz player. What they would say is instant whistle blown and pointing to this direction, and it's 3 minutes 30 over the or 3:50, so there's no way for Mainz to ever have an attack after that, because they are not even gonna restart the game after they get this. But why would he so? I mean, well, I'm not gonna allow a goal here. No matter what happens, ball is gonna, some player going to the ground. I blow the whistle, so this is it. And so he doesn't even. I mean, in this case, it was even. This case was one where this side even deserved a goal. Sometimes it happens that, so he would have had even more reason. Of course, he's playing in front of, or he's blowing his whistle in front of 81,000 or so, and they all want the final whistle and so on. So you could still say there's some pressure from the crowd, but he just doesn't care. He says, "I'm gonna stop the game no matter what happens." And this happens so often, and you see that, and you say, "Well, what has the striker done?" I mean, you're not allowed to stand there because goalkeeper, you can, and it's outside the 6-yard box. There's not even an area in which he's treated any different. It's just ridiculous. I mean, they're gonna stop the play, and I can foresee that, and I could say I was happy with that. I wasn't. I mean, it's meaningless. I'm not gonna talk about those bets I made there, but this is completely independent of that. I know and understand those rules and the way they what is it? They interpret the rules. There was nothing that Mainz. He was just standing there, and so you could just let game go on. Or, I mean, if you would think my way, and then you would say, why not think about a penalty? What is he doing there? Either he gets the ball, okay, he is a keeper, okay, but why is he allowed to because he's allowed to take his hands, so he can jump over this player and simply, yeah, well, why would you do that? Why would you say so? I mean, if you would think in favor of the goals, because this is what people would like to see and this is what makes the game exciting, then you would say, well, actually, there's no reason for this goalkeeper to claim some extra rights for himself. Hoffenheim Hertha was another. They claim those extra rights because they are thinking against the goals, which is because one goal is so important, one goal counts so much, one goal has to be very regular to make it count, and one goal decides the game. So I can't simply Well, one goal. Well, you can't simply allow a goal. Well, you do say, well, okay, he touched him there. It's a penalty, so I'm gonna give a penalty. You can do that as a referee. You say, well, this was very, very obvious, very clear cut. Well, there's more about that to say, and the referees, and that's what I'm going through the games first of all. Hoffenheim well deserved this win. They were a lot better than expected. Hertha produced less, they produced more. This was also over one goal. Very comfortable win, even a bit more comfortable than the one from Leipzig and so on. And fully justified by stats, and even they talk about Dardai now, and they do it with every team that loses 2 or 3 games. They instantly talk about the coach. Bayern did as much as expected, and of course comfortable win. Here was one such penalty given when they say afterwards, well, this was not a penalty. Here was another one when they say this wasn't a penalty, there was no reason. Okay, first of all, Bayern went well deserved, comfortable, everything fine, nothing to argue about. 0.01, close as can be. Frankfurt, they lost the player after the break. They were just one goal up. This was even worse than what happened to Dortmund, because they still held on to that lead, or to that win. They won the 3 points, while Frankfurt scored just one goal in the first half. They could have scored more. They lost the player after the break, was 1-1, was 1-2. They still produced enough, even in the sense of, I mean, at that point with 10 players, 40 minutes. And this was, I mean, they did as much as I expected, or even a bit more. If they allowed a bit more, it was for the player being, they were down, and for the because they had to open up with 10 men, they were a goal behind. Still, they would have deserved it to get that equalizer until Augsburg wrapped it up, or what the term is, I don't know. Late on, very late on, in injury time, the 3-1. So this was maybe the only result that we could really consider a bad one. This is not the right result. Frankfurt were good. But here it was the one I profited most. I didn't look now what we have as a final outcome. I have no idea. We're going to check here. Here are the results. Here's the tendency. Here are the payouts. So I'm still losing a bit. I mean, this is very even. 5 times plus, 4 times minus. It's just meaningless. I would have preferred to be a bit ahead, of course. But this is absolutely meaningless, neutral. And I would say, after we went through the games, I would say, I mean, there's nothing even that we were really fighting for. The one thing, the couple of things that I was supporting a bit more, this was Nuremberg. I was right here. I wasn't wrong in this one for sure, but here I didn't even lose. I was wrong in this one here, but I accepted that before the game. Here, you shouldn't argue about those 40 euros, but I would say the stats would a bit more confirm market, of course. But here I was right. In Dortmund, I was wrong by stats, but I explained this game. In Hoffenheim, I was dead wrong. I have to accept that. When I said the pre-game, I'm gonna very happily go with Hertha, but they had those injuries, right? Did I say that before the game? Here I cannot argue at all. I said that, it happens. It was exactly the way I expected it. The game went as well, and there was a period, a phase in the game when even Düsseldorf could have scored a goal. So to make it exciting, maybe it may have been 0-2 already. But if they score a goal, so why not? I mean, this is like Mainz. They come back. They believe. While Bayern may become a bit shaky. In Frankfurt, I was very right. Well, not in the sense here, but I would say well, against the draw, more or less. We shouldn't argue about this one. It was just a neutral match day, and it turned out to be neutral in the end. What I wanted to add now to this, I went through the games. I said a few things, but what I wanted to add now is about the video assistant referee. And I mean, I hear all those discussions. You may not, because we are on the English channel here now, and maybe you're more from international, and I get some responses that tell me you are international. Okay. But I have to listen. So if someone from Italy, Romania, no idea, from Spain or France or whatever is listening or is trying to apply that what I say here to his domestic league or to what people say there about it, it may be different. I don't know. But what they say here, they are not getting to the point. First of all, the one dominant thing to mention is whether or not video assistant or just the referee or however you wish to decide it, those players, they are, first of all, they get forced to think in results and nothing but results. This is something people would not accept in the United States of America because they would say, well, first thing is, this is big sports. But first thing is, what we want and what we need is excitement within the game, just rules, but we need those spectators to pay for our sports. So they need to be entertained. So there's one paramount thing. We need to entertain people. And we can't argue every week 10 times about a decision this way, that way, and no one knows when. So they forgot at that point already that no one wants to hear that and wants to see that. I mean, they may take part for a while and say, well, this should have been a penalty, this was not. But you have to find, I mean, people are not going to take that, or they are very unhappy and still say, well, okay, football is big. I'm still going to watch my home side here when I go across the street or go to my hometown and see this amateur football or whatever, and my children play football or watch those games, and still it is big and somehow I'm into football, okay. But I do not want to hear those discussions every day in, day out, and then they are leading to, they come to nothing, right? No conclusion. But the excitement gets lost. And when they conclude now, the decisions feel as if they were arbitrary. It was at least 10 times that I heard that vocabulary, I don't know, that word, let's put it like that. Singular or vocabulary, I don't know. At least 10 times I heard that. It may have been a lot more. And so it feels as if it's arbitrary. And why is it arbitrary? I mean, now we got another side intervening or not doing it. So you got another potential error side or error spot or someone else who may go wrong. Now there's one major and really large problem in that the referee would not, in many cases, stop the game. Because he's not so sure. I mean, he's a sole person there. They may talk about those assistants. I don't know what they are doing. Sometimes when it's close to the sideline or whatever, I mean, then they say, okay, this was a foul, or I don't know, but that's all. But the referee would have stopped the play already. I mean, so this is meaningless. And there's something important happening, they do not intervene. They do nothing, right? And so he's this very lonely and sole person. So, but now, as there is this video assistant referee, that he knows he's watching all the pictures, so he would say, okay, I'm gonna just let play go on. If there's something wrong, which I may even have spotted, but if there's something wrong, I'm not so sure, especially about a penalty, which is the most critical decision, apart from offside, where it doesn't work at all as well. But let's talk about those penalties. He's not going to stop the play. Now it is down to the video assistant to either intervene or not do it. But now, after the game has not been stopped by the original referee on the pitch, now the video assistant is asked to only intervene in case this was severely wrong. So they both have their excuse now. The referee says, I'm not going to stop the play because I'm not so sure. And also, I do not really want to give a penalty. because a penalty is so much of one goal. It decides games, it turns it around, it's whatever it is. It is a decisive decision, it is a game decider, or whatever it is. So I'm not going to do it. If it's status quo, nothing happened, right? They still have time. I mean, it may be, as in Düsseldorf, Bayern, it was 0-3. They still argue about this penalty in the last minute for Düsseldorf. They still argue. They say this was not a penalty. How can you give a penalty there? I'm coming to that in a second. Now, the referee doesn't stop play anymore. The video assistant does not intervene because he says, I saw this was a foul, but this was not a severe error. And if I would start to intervene now, then maybe I would intervene every 2 minutes or so. Maybe not because of this, because of that or so, but just simply, so we want the referee to be the dominant force here, and which he isn't. I mean, it's nothing. He's not doing anything. So we get no more penalties, and it's even getting worse. And as I pointed out already, there is a chance for an alternative punishment for offenses inside the area. If you would simply understand that the referee is by intuition, because simply a goal counts too much, so he doesn't want to award a penalty, which is a goal, more or less. So that's why he wouldn't stop the play. They all see this was, there were so many such situations. I mean, what I heard here, there was this very, very, very typical thing happening in the second Bundesliga, where now cross is coming into the area, striker is going to the ball, and he may have a hard time even hitting it or getting it inside the goal, but it's maybe, let's say, 7-8 yards out, so it's not that far away, but the ball is coming from behind, so he has to prolong it, or whatever that would be, with his backhand or so, and somehow get it in. But for that not to happen, or disabling this chance, the defender gives this push, this very, very slight push. So the striker, when he is ready to, he gets this push, so he misses the ball completely. Now the commentator says, well, there was a push, but this was not against the rules. I have no idea where he concluded that, or why he read that. It's not against the rules, but it's the worst that he can do, because this is the most obvious of things, which is stopping a goal. I mean, there are other things where you're not even in the position to score a goal, still you are attacked badly, or it's just a foul, but then you would not. But in this, it may be a small push, very small one, but you see it that he would not miss this ball. Why would he? I mean, he knows he can see the ball, his timing is perfect. I mean, why should he go wrong there? And all of a sudden he hits his push, and he can do that as a striker. I mean, I recommend to you, do this as a striker. You get a yellow card, because this is really a bad offense, they would say. I mean, you push this defender away to get... What are you trying to do? You want to score a goal, or what do you want? No, we are not having this here. So, I mean, those are the situations where a penalty would be according to the rules. He simply says it was not against the rules. I mean, I have no idea why, because it was the most obvious things, but because they all think or feel, well, he can't give a penalty, especially game went on already, so why would he say that once again, which he has done in all the other games all season before, when he was commentating, when he said, well, this was a penalty for me, this was a penalty, why didn't you give it? He must have overlooked it. He may have a different view on that. It was a 50-50 decision, so, and all kinds of excuses. But sometimes you get tired of finding those excuses and saying, well, this was okay, maybe, or maybe yes, maybe no, and so on. But, never it's given, right? But what do I say now? What was the conclusion? I'm trying to figure out. The different punishment, because I mean, if it's so obvious and you say, well, he was not in a position, which I would doubt in this situation, but there are many other situations when I would say, well, he was not in a position to score a goal. Why should I give him a penalty? Because this is very much of a goal from a position when he was going nowhere, right? So when there are offenses inside the area, just invent one different punishment to this penalty, and you're already there. Then you say, okay, he handled the ball on the line and he stopped a certain goal. This is penalty, and maybe red, I don't know. But this is, and striker going through and maybe even rounding the keeper and then being brought down by this hands of the keeper. And you'd say, okay, he denied a certain goal, so at least he's going to have a penalty for that. Or, you know, when there are situations when you say, well, this is a clear goal chance, and this is defended with a bad tackle. So then it's a penalty. And otherwise, it's another punishment, right? And there was this indirect free kick, which they never award these days. It's gone, although it's still in the rules. I don't know, but they simply say, well, we can't do that. And I wouldn't do that either, because it's just silly positions you get there, and all players on the line, and always. And the game never starts, and when he shoots, then he shoots into a wall of players from his own colors or the opposing, and it's just boring to see that. But they should find something different. And I would suggest shoot from 16 yards, or just get a good position from a free kick. I mean, outside the area or at the edge of the box or something like that, because it's just a different thing. 1 second, please. So, and now the second so this is what we needed, just a different punishment. Or they just give those penalties and see what happens. Now, for those borderline tackles, this is one more term that they do not know about and they never heard about when they start those discussions. I mean, the players, they know very well and understand what is allowed and what is disallowed. And if they are told this is not allowed, you can't do that, or if the referee decisions go hand in hand, they are more or less right. They are consistent. We are going to punish this, and this we're going to let go. Players know that instantly, and they understand that. Still, they would not say, now I'm going to really bring him down and show the referee, no, this is a penalty. No, you've got to be certain, right? That's why I'm, a really bad tackle. Another scene, he's saying, okay, I'm careful. I'm not going to tackle him, so he knows it's not a penalty. What those defenders would do is always go to the limits. I mean, you to the borderline tackles, right? You say, okay, I saw so many penalties and so many not given penalties, so I know how much I can do and how much, because it's just common sense. They award a penalty for that and they don't give one for that. So I'm going to try to tackle, to impede the striker as much as I can, so he's not going to score a goal, but I'm trying not to concede a penalty. So this is what they will always do. They're not trying to tell the referee with their tackle, now you should be sure this is a penalty and this is none. They will always try to tackle the borderline. And so they will never find an easy decision. I mean, they won't get there. VAR, forget about it. I mean, or the referee, he never knows what happens, right? It's every situation is 50-50. Now what I hear when they argue is say, this one was 50-50, this was 40-60, this was 70-30. I mean, then they accept that what I'm saying now, this is always something to argue about. So forget about the VAR. I mean, he can argue, you can argue at home, the referee can argue, everyone can see the pictures, this angle, that angle, slow motion, or the original time, which I consider much better to judge, because you are used to that tempo, right, in which they move, the players move. So you spot a lot better whether or not this was a bad tackle. Anyway, And same with those handballs. So if they say, well, you can't do much, right? When this defender, what did he do? He was doing this. He was standing there like that, and ball touches, and then he said, well, from 3 yards out. Well, how could he get? And this is not a natural. So they will all stand there like that because they know this is not going to be a penalty because they have all kind of excuses for that. And when now this even Hummels, which I consider a very intelligent man, I mean, I have to say that, and I wouldn't expect him to say something silly about that, which he still did. But he is hearing all those excuses already, and it's 3-0 Bayern. So just shut up, don't say anything. This is a penalty and nothing else, and don't argue. But now he says, for me, for me, it's gotta be intentional. Otherwise, you should not give a penalty. But with this intentional or not intentional, deliberately, right? What is a better word for that? Intention, by intention. If you're not moving your arm intentionally into the stride of the ball, but what you do by intention is to keep your arms in there where the ball may touch it. If you knew this was a penalty, then you would simply say, well, I'm rather not going to have my arm up there. And what he did was, I mean, he maybe should his own arm, or his neighbor Boateng did it because he was trying to clear the ball. But why is his arm there? Why are you having your arm here? I mean, if you know this is a penalty, then just get it out of the way. I mean, and if you're unable to, because it's still a penalty, so what's wrong with that? I mean, it's simple as that. And why would he say, I didn't do it by intention? What is it when a handball, from the sports of handball, right? Goalkeeper in handball, is it called handball? I don't know. The sports. Where they all touch the ball with their hands. If he stops the ball by making this jumping jack, right? What is he doing? He's jumping jack, right? He doesn't know at all where the ball is going to come. He's trying to widen his body as much as he can. So it's jumping jack, right? Pull the string, and he's going to do that. And then he's going to stop the ball, and this is a miracle. How did he get there? Reflex? No, it's nothing. He's just doing a jumping jack, right? So if every defender is allowed to make this jumping jack attitude, because they, well, I didn't intend to touch the ball. I'm just, I'm always doing that. This is what they do now, how they behave, and all those experts sit there and they say, you can't give a penalty for that, you can't give a penalty for that, you can't. Well, how can you? Well, this was a. Well, where are we getting? If all those things are. And this defender, the other one, he was turning into the ball, right? So he turned when the shot was fired, right? Was delivered. And then he was turning, and behind his body, he took his arm up there, and then the ball. There was another penalty. This was Augsburg, I think, Frankfurt. And then they say this is not a penalty. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Wait, I mean, wake up, people. I mean, if you say this is not a penalty, he's gonna do that all day long. And if you say this is a penalty, he's very well able to get this arm out of the way. And what are you favoring? What are you doing? You're just stopping goals like that. Because he stops a goal and you say this is not a penalty. If Hummels has his arm up there, he's not stopping a goal maybe, but he has it up there just for safety reasons. I mean, just in case the ball would land into somewhere, a striker or something like that, right? But this Augsburg defender, I think. So they are not going anywhere, but they do not understand the problem. I could talk all day long about that, but I'm gonna stop my video here and still ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all the best to you.